if it says in the new Tedus Receptus, Tedus Receptus Billis Bogus, legislation number 8 getting passed through, and it says that all pastors will now swear their allegiance to the president, who is God. If they were to do something like that, then obviously that would be something that would be just outlandish and over the top and ridiculous. Party on, everybody. This is the Rockin' Reverend Todd Laddick, and I'm here, of course, with my good old friend, the Reverend Sal Sermarco. He's one of the Frozen Chosen, of course, and we were last time engaging in some good tea, some good coffee, some good conversation. And then I guess that, Sal, brings us into our
most excellent music segment.
Music edition.
Okay. Every time. Okay. So I guess I'll go first for this one.
Sure.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna pour myself a little more of this pennyroyal tea, if that doesn't give you a hint as to who I'm going to be reviewing. Okay, if you haven't guessed it, there is no hope for you. I am reviewing Nirvana, but I'm not reviewing the song Pennyroyal Tea. Nor am I drinking Pennyroyal Tea, but the pun was there purposefully. Okay, so the song that I am reviewing is Come As You Are. Listen, I feel like this, regardless of who I'm quote unquote reviewing. But I especially feel like this when it comes to like reviewing Bon Jovi or reviewing Nirvana or reviewing Black Sabbath or, name your like icon, right? Well, I'm just going to go review them now because I know what I'm talking about and everybody should listen to me. Now, like, I appreciate. So let's put it this way. This is my appreciation speech for Nirvana, and in particular, the song off of Nevermind. Now, most people think like, oh, Nirvana had what? Like 1, 2, 3, 4... No, actually, Nirvana had 3 studio albums. Now, the first one was Bleach, which was largely not known until after Kurt Cobain died. The album that they became big under was Nevermind. People often think that Incesticide, which came in between In Utero and Nevermind, that Incesticide was another album, but it was actually just a collection of songs off of Bleach and elsewhere that they decided to do. Even Nevermind had a song from Nevermind on it. So the next album after Nevermind is actually In Utero. And then, of course, he did the Unplugged album. But that wasn't for MTV, but that wasn't a studio album. So You're looking at 3 studio albums for the band. But anyway, Nevermind is a major album. Anybody who has not lived in under a rock in a hole very deep in the earth for a couple millennia can't have missed Nevermind, cannot have missed Nirvana. The song I'm doing is Come As You Are, because in the church, that's what we tell people. Come as you are. I have no clue I would never presume to know what was going on in Kurt's mind as he wrote it. But when I read these lyrics, I not only think of the church, but I think of school. I think of society, who's the popular kids and who aren't, and how that gets somehow superficially chosen, trivially chosen by somebody who has no authority to choose their own status in the world, let alone somebody else's. But yet this is what we do. And so like when I hear these lyrics, I think of that. So I'm going to read Come As You Are. I will have the video up for it as well in our notes. So come as you are, as you were, as I want you to be, as a friend, as an old enemy. Take your time, hurry up, choice is yours, don't be late. Take a rest, as a friend, as an old memory. Memoria. Come doused in mud, soaked in bleach, as I want you to be, as a trend, as a friend, as an old memoria. And I swear that I don't have a gun. No, I don't have a gun. No, I don't have a gun. And that continues on and whatnot. But I'm not entirely... Like, you could always kind of read Kurt Cobain's suicide into just about any one of the songs and wonder, like, gee, is this what he meant by... I'm not going to do that. I think that Kurt Cobain, like any artist, was a full, vibrant human being who suffered from mental illness. But that mental illness was not the whole of who he was. It was just it was a part of who he was. Just like, somebody who has cancer isn't solely cancer. Like they have cancer, but then, they're more than the cancer. So I don't know what he would have, what it meant for him. But when I hear that, and I don't know what you think, Sal, but when I hear those lyrics, I think of churches or any part of society that tries to maybe sincerely, but also disingenuinely, if that makes sense. They try to lure you in and tell you, oh, you come as you are. But what they're really is saying, as I want you to be. So come as you are, as long as you are is me. And
as long as you fit into my perception of me and who belongs to be around me.
Right. Come in as a friend, as an old enemy, or come in as a friend, as a trend. Yeah, something that we like today and dump tomorrow. That was my experience that was my formative years growing up as a child, a teenager, and a young adult. And even into my adult years where that was my experience of the world, where people, and to some degree, even to this day, you know it, Sal, that is a reality. I don't know. What are your thoughts when you hear those lyrics?
Well, like you said, growing up in your formative years of kind of not really fitting in one group or another, and so okay, come as you are is pretty tempting.
Yeah.
And I think we, even in our best attempts, like even Alice and I talk about this, that the trying to fit in, and you say, okay, come as you are, and we come, and we still don't feel welcomed.
Right. And the vulnerability, because when you're being invited into a place and being told to come as you are, let us see you, warts and all, bumps and all, let us see who you really are. You're asking somebody to be majorly vulnerable. And you're telling him, oh, and I swear I don't have a gun. So lay yourself bare, make yourself vulnerable, come as you are, trust that we're just going to accept you, that there are no weapons over here. No one wants to harm you. We just love you. We just want to spread the love. We just want to love on you, just love. And okay, I'm carrying it a bit far. All the same, love guru out of it. That's a line that churches sell you. That's a line that schools sell you. That's a line, that a lot of different institutions will try to sell you. And I think it's an ideal they try to live up to, but they fall short of that. And yeah.
Well, and churches of all places who often in Christian circles will say that we have to be not of this world but in this world, and yet so that's why they say come as you are, because we don't belong in that outside world. We're here to be different, so come as you are.
Yeah.
And yet they still take on a lot of the characteristics of the outside world and not the world they're supposed to be.
That does make sense. Yes. So anyway, that's my choice for the most excellent music selection.
Nice. So my selection is actually he's a guitarist. Impelliteri is how you say the name. I'm sure I'm butchering that. It's a hard name to say. But it's Chris Impelliteri. The name of the band is his last name. And it's kind of like if you're familiar with Yngwie Malmsteen or Stevie Vai or Jeff Beck, that kind of really fast guitar playing. But he's also a Christian. I don't know if he's like super public about it. Like he doesn't go out to evangelize, but he's pretty open that he's Christian. So he does actually sing about it in some of the songs. So, and this song always makes me think of the end of Matthew in chapter 28, when Jesus at the end says, "And remember, I will be with you always, even till the end of the world." So here's what the lyrics are. Let me just pull them up. I'm not looking for an answer because I'll always know the truth. When I'm walking through the fire, I know I'll never lose. I hear the sweet voice of the love I can't deny. I will surrender to the love I know is mine. I will remember your promises. When I'm cold, your arms around me. When I'm high, you let me fly. When I fear, you are my refuge. You wipe the teardrop from my eye. And then it goes back into I hear the sweet voice of the love I can't deny. And so that just always makes me think of the end of Matthew 28 when Jesus says, "I'm with you always." So just randomly that came up on my car playlist, and so I go, yeah, I remember this song.
Reminds me of Revelation 21 too, where God says God will wipe every tear from your eye. So it's that promise that Jesus says where I'll always be with you. Oh, and I'm going to care for you along the way. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Yep.
So
and that kind of reminded me too about a little bit of St. Patrick's prayer. Christ above me, Christ below me, Christ in front of me, Christ behind me.
Yep.
Anyway, that's my music selection.
Sounds good to me. Well then, that is our most excellent music selection, because we would never pick most heinous music, would we? Maybe we would.
No.
Maybe you think we do. If you think we pick heinous music, then give us a selection to talk about. You who know better than us.
If you were patrons on Patreon, you would have that ability to tell us what to listen to.
Yeah, I mean, come on, of course. Yeah. You pay a measly, $5 a month. Like, think about
Can't
that.
really beat it.
Think about that.
That's
the tea that we refer you to buy. If you gave up just a cup of tea or a cup of coffee a month, especially if you're getting that creamy stuff on top.
Mm-hmm. That's doing away with one large iced coffee at Dunkin' Donuts a month.
Yeah, not to mention lower chances of diabetes and
high blood pressure, all that stuff.
Lower chance of breast cancer, lower chance of prostate cancer, depending on which way you're going with that. So look, you get all the health benefits, and you put your money where it belongs, which is invested in this program, because it rocks and we spread the good news.
It does. We're not making money off this, folks, but this keeps the website up and keeps us going. So
nope, definitely not making money off of it, but we are making tea. Shameless plug. Okay, so anyway, yeah.
I think that brings us to our main topic.
It does, and before we get into the topic itself, those of you who are listening, this is in May. Oh my goodness, we're almost to Memorial Day. This is the date's May 27th. We're gonna date this. So May 27th, we are recording over some good tea and some conversation. And basically, we're going to talk, and when we're done talking, we're going to split this puppy in half. Oh, that sounds really bad. The poor dog. Why the dog? Why the dog?
We're not advocating. No, why did you go there?
Oh,
we are not. We are not advocating the harming of animals.
No. Oh, we're I was meaning by dog, of course, the ancient Mesopotamian language of that says dog in the sense of, long dog-like looking worm that gets up into you, eats your stuff, and you die. That's the thing that we're splitting into, that dog.
Yeah. That's the
okay.
What are those dogs at the end of Ghostbusters?
Yeah, they were at the end of one or the beginning of another. I'm sure. Oh boy. Okay, so anyway, needless to say, let's get into it. Can you believe, Sal, that we're going to be talking about race?
I feel like we've already talked about this. Didn't we solve this issue?
Did we solve it already?
Well, some would say we solved it.
Let me think on this. Oh, my thinking eyes. Oh, my thinking eyes are burning. Okay. It's good. Can you imagine what I was like as a kindergartner? Okay, so I guess we'll go to the next most obvious one. What they're trying to do with voting. And voting rights. Now nobody is arguing that people who don't have a right to vote should be allowed to vote. Nobody is arguing that people who aren't citizens or legally granted the authority to vote, like Commonwealth folks, like in Puerto Rico or whatnot, nobody's saying that anybody outside of that should have a right to vote. But what people are saying is that too many people too often in communities of color, in minority communities, don't vote because of how hard it is to get there and to actually carry it out. And for me, when I live in a community where I can drive a mile and I'm there and nobody questions me, nobody asks me. I don't know about you. I have never been asked to show my license at a poll booth. I had to show it in order to prove that I am eligible to vote. You do that at the DMV. You have to show, you make sure you are who you are. But once I have been given that right to vote, nobody's like, "Can I see your license, please?" They just have you sign next to your name.
Yep. And they only let you do that because when I moved from one place to where we live now, I had to go and show, okay, see, change of address. This is me. Okay. And every time I voted since, just signed.
Yep.
And they know it's me. So to say that you haven't shown ID proof of who you are or to vote is misleading at best.
Yeah, it is misleading, and it's another example of making it hard on the people who have it the hardest. And this year in particular, following the contentious election that we had in 2020, there's this new push, and I would almost say insane, except that there are so many people doing it. It's like so many people pushing for this. I can't even believe it. But it's just this insane push for restricting people's rights at the ballot boxes. Like things like, we will not be open on Sundays anymore. And we're taking away 5 different boxes so that basically if you live in the far fringes of a county, you have to drive an hour to get to the box. Like things like that, if you have people who are another problem is people who work have a hard time getting to the ballot boxes, right? Mm-hmm. And so what will often happen is there'll be people who volunteer who are more well-to-do, and they volunteer, and they will stand out and hold your ballot for you so that they can put it in the box. They'll wait online and put it in the box for you. It's not that they're signing anything. It's not that they're doing anything illegal. It's been done for years and years and years, but now all of a sudden it's a problem. Why? Because people were able to get the vote out so effectively that way and other ways this time round that it put the power in the hands of the people who needed it most. In this particular election. Now, I'm not saying, that this administration or any one administration is going to fix any of or let alone all of the woes of any people. I'm not saying that at all. But certainly, if you're going to compare previous administration to current administration, or any other previous administration for that matter, you can find which ones are the better ones, or the ones that you would rather go back to than what we were currently in. And so I don't know, it just the changing the voting laws to make things more, and we're talking petty laws. They're going to close 2 hours earlier. So that basically they're closing before you get off of work. Well,
because they know you can't make it there.
Because they know you can't make it. Yeah. Yeah. And those are only changing in areas that have a higher percentage of people of color. Yeah.
Because those who are trying to change the laws know that when those people vote in mass numbers, they vote for things that will benefit them, and it tends to be of the other party.
Right.
And the party in power doesn't want to lose that.
Right.
So
Oops, sorry about that.
Yep.
Hit the wrong button. Hit the wrong button. Those listening will be like, I don't know what you're talking about. It's because I turned the video off. So,
there's a very nice picture of your stained glass.
Yeah, you got the full on stained glass window view. So that's another, but again, that's another way in which certain people are trying to restrict the votes of those who wouldn't. In order to win votes, you try to stop the ones who aren't going to vote for you.
Yeah. To control power, basically, is what it comes down to.
Yep. Yep. So, yeah, I don't know. The other area that we could definitely talk about is what they're trying to do in in history and science. The same people that are pushing for science, intelligent design to be added into the science classroom are the same people trying to push science out of the hospitals and out of the restaurants, who don't want you wearing masks and don't want you believing basic scientific truths. But if you look at the way racism is built into the way we're taught history, and it always has been. Mm-hmm. Tell your basic Pilgrim story, Sal.
These nice white folks were leaving England for religious freedom. They landed in Plymouth and basically had a rough go. And the local tribe, indigenous tribe, took care of them and taught them what to go to hunt and where to hunt and helped them survive. And then they had a harvest festival. But, how these indigenous helped the white people.
They were great friends.
Take their land. Great friends. They helped them out. And we enjoyed it so much we gave them some blankets. Yeah, that's how we look it up.
Their blankets. Gave them some blankets and their faces on brochures, which is what we do in America, isn't it? Right? Mm-hmm. Think about it. How did we make the right? How did we make the wrong right when it came to the way we treated the first peoples? Oh, well, we gave not Sitting Bull. Was it Sitting Bull? I don't know. We gave one of them, his own show in Wild Bill, in the Wild Bill Western show, or Buffalo Bill.
Yep.
Not Wild Bill. Yeah. That's what we do though, right? We put you either got your face put on a brochure or you were handed a blanket at best.
Mm-hmm.
And so you learned, in other words, a very sugar-coated version of the Thanksgiving story. Would that be fair? Okay, so this is what I learned. This is what I learned about Abraham Lincoln. White people were very bad because they had enslaved people, took them over in ships and made them work hard and beat them, and they were just terrible. But there was this guy by the name of Abraham Lincoln who said, "This is wrong. We can't do this. We can't do this because God made us equal." And so he fought to emancipate the slaves. And one day, this nearly failed senator became president. and he signed into law the Emancipation Proclamation and the 13th Amendment, and it was the great emancipator, Abe.
Honest Abe.
And yeah, there's truth in there, overall. But his position on what he thought of equality between white and black people was an evolution. He wasn't the great emancipator at the ripe age of 20. That's for sure.
No. The process of how that worked.
Yeah. It took him. Yeah, it took him getting to know people and expanding his horizons. Like he got to know people like Frederick Douglass, who was a thorn in his side to begin with, but they both began to like really appreciate each other. And Abraham Lincoln considered Frederick Douglass a friend. So he kind of evolved from this person who he had more of a white reason for wanting to abolish slavery than he had a right reason. But it eventually evolved into a more right reason. And that's the evolution, of humanity. And that's what we're hopefully trying to teach kids in school, which you and I weren't taught that. We were taught, evil white people did some bad things at once upon a time, but then the good white people came in and made it better. Which is kind of how we teach our history. And that's not how it happened. Yep. And so now they're trying in places like Florida, they're saying you can't teach history that says America was ever bad unless it's first been approved by the state. So if you live in Florida or Alabama or Georgia or Texas, do you think you're ever in those states going to hear a history that says the states did some pretty darn bad things?
Mm-hmm.
No. Why? So we're now going to whitewash our history so that you not only were you oppressed by white people, but now you're being told by white people how great white people were. And you're not hearing anything bad about white people because white people can't be bad because we say we can't be bad because we tell ourselves we can't be bad. Does that sound like cyclical logic? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Big old circles. Yeah,
and that hurts the black communities because that's the history they're hearing when they know darn well it's not the truth, and keeps them in their place. But it also hurts black communities even more so in this end because of what it does to white people. When you grow up and you hear that as your history, and you don't know the nuances and the subtle racisms and the subtle what's the word, inconvenient truths that exist in history, you don't get the full picture without them. And so white people will grow up thinking and believing that the woes of racism came, went, and are gone, and we should all be happy about it, and everybody has an equal shot. The end. Have a nice day. And we know that's not true. But yet, that's what a Texas, that's what a Florida would want you to think. It's like this teaching people that blind allegiance to the beneficent, all good government.
Yeah.
Sounds kind of like Roman emperors wanting Christians to, bow down and worship them.
Yeah. I just lost what I was going to say. So anyway, wasn't important.
Yeah. So any other ways we can think of? I mean, like this it's so important to realize that it's not, again, like I said at the very beginning, it's not about just black people and white people, who white people sucked, but now don't suck anymore for the most part, except those crazy people over there. That's not what this is about. This is about, again, how this affects people across all of their lives. It affects their health care. It affects the way in which we talk about ourselves and the way, who we put up as the good guys and who we put up as the people who needed help. In the Ron DeSantis version of that history, it wouldn't be the bad people removing the Cherokees from the land. It would be the good people who said they were sorry later on. Like not focusing on the bad, but focusing on the good in a way that makes you seem like the hero when you were the cause of the problem to begin with.
Right. Kind of like
that's what you're teaching.
White savior.
Yep. Yeah, that white savior. If that's what you're teaching in the schools, and that's what our history has been by and large, like most people didn't know that Abraham Lincoln only believed in limiting this expansion of slavery to new settlements. Why? Because he didn't want to take away work from white people. And if you allow slaves to go into those states, it causes who's going to pick paid labor over slave labor? I'll pay you rather than have that guy work for free. So that was Lincoln's original. That was his original reason. It was to help the white people. So, and that's not to say again that's not where he ended. He ended up becoming friends with Frederick Douglass, who opened his eyes to his own. Frederick Douglass and others were able to open Lincoln's eyes to the ways in which he benefited that others did not. And we're talking about Lincoln, who came from nothing and grew up, on dirt, sleeping on dirt floors. He was no man of wealth most of his life.
Yeah. That's like privilege.
Yeah.
It goes back to privilege and power, which we've talked on previously.
Yes, we have. Yes, we have. Yeah. And I guess we can bring another thing to talk about. Maybe we'll get into this at a different time more fully as well, but the show, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Oh, yeah. The deal's very good. Yeah.
Yeah, without giving too much from the storyline away, what it deals with in terms of racism is eye-opening.
Very eye-opening, and how it relates to our relatively recent, within the last 100-year history, and how not only we treat people of color, but people of color who served this country.
That's right. It amazes me when people who rail against socialized medicine are, and socialism are the same people who are saying support the troops. Well, supporting the troops that's socialism. That's taxpayers' money being So I always found that kind of funny, because on the one end we don't want socialism when it's helping people who are not people like us. But when it's people that are like us, and of course soldiers are like us because we're all patriots, right? Like that's the way it's viewed, though, right? Like, of course they're like us, even though I'm 300 pounds and and look like a walking keg. I'm like that Navy SEAL because I'm a patriot. I love my country.
Mm-hmm.
So like that has always been something that boggles my mind, that like they don't see that you actually are in support of socialized medicine. You're just discriminating where we need to fund things for social needs and where we shouldn't. And that often falls in racial lines often. And, So in this show, to get back to so the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, you learn that the Winter Soldier, for those who are not too familiar with the story, the Winter Soldier was a friend of Steve Rogers. Is his last name? Yeah.
Steve Rogers. Yep.
Yes, Steve Rogers, who's Captain America. Captain America and his friend Bucky went into the military together. Bucky had an accident, ended up being captured by Hydra folks and turned into some like super soldier, genome type soldier. Similarly, Captain America, Steve Rogers, went through the similar thing. The difference was he wasn't captured and reprogrammed, but he became a super soldier as well. And so what you see in this show of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier is this other soldier who went in at the same time as Steve and Bucky, who also became a super soldier, but he was black. And so while Steve was sent out and Bucky were sent out to do all the fighting and be, the brave white superheroes, the black man was sent into more laboratories to see what this gas did on him and to see what that gas did on him, to see what this weapon did or to see what that weapon did. And it mounted to years and years and years of human torture. And you look at the Tuskegee experiments.
Tuskegee Airmen.
Yep. And this is stuff
that's why there's still a.
Yeah, this is stuff that has happened.
Still and that's why there's still a hesitancy now in the pandemic with the vaccine in the African American community, because there is still a portion of that population that remembers those experiments, and so therefore don't trust the science because the science was used against them. Right.
That gets the shades of truth put on. That's exactly right. And what I really appreciated about the show, I mean, there's a lot more to talk about it than just the racial end of it. But what I loved about the show was it showed that while all soldiers are at the mercy, as I said earlier, are at the mercy of socialized medicine of the government, people of color, black people, Latino people are especially at the mercy, because all that needs to happen is you get, as a black person, arrested for this or arrested for that, and the government can say, you know what? Thanks for your service. Have a nice day. And you're stripped of all benefits, stripped of all, so you look at somebody like this person that Bucky and Steve Rogers knew, and you realize now he was just as deserving of the Medal of Honor as any one of the other guys were, but because he was black, he actually he got the short end of the stick in terms of his treatment, but he also got the short end of the stick in terms of the honor he should have been given. And yet wasn't given it. So that's a dynamic, without giving away anything else in the show. That's a very important dynamic that I thought lent itself to how we need to look at a deeper, more broad level when it comes to racism, not just the black and white, evil white person doesn't like black person. That's such a elementary way of looking at racism that does not really help.
No. Yeah. And it shades our understanding. So,
yeah.
So it's important, and it's to keep looking at it, no matter how awkward it makes us feel.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Even to even to sit here as we do and to just hold these conversations, even lose our place as we're straining to think about how to say something or the right way to say something. It's better to have the conversation and ask for forgiveness if you messed up than to refuse to talk about something that's so vital for us to talk about. So if you go into it with a sensitive heart, open ears, and humility, most people are going to get you didn't mean something. You said something in ignorance. And we all say things in ignorance. People aren't going to rip you apart for being ignorant about something, so long as you're open to hear that you didn't know it, that you know it now, and that you're not going to do it in the future. It's basic, right? Basic stuff.
Basic stuff.
Why do we make it so hard, Sal?
Because we're evil white people.
Well, one thing we can say without interjecting any color is humans are totes depraved.
Totes depraved.
No discrimination there.
No.
I don't know about you, but I think this is a good place for us to leave the conversation for now. I'm not sure. It'll be interesting to see how long the episodes are, given that I don't know how long this whole conversation has been. But we'll just split it in half, and they'll be however long they are.
Yeah, we'll go from there.
So if you're on this end of it, you've listened to both parts. We started off in June, and now we're in July. Hello, y'all.
Yep. We've time traveled.
You time traveled and ended up in a different time. And now we're going to say, see y'all. Happy trails. But yeah, no. So I hope this has been a worthwhile.
Oh, it's been a good conversation.
Yeah. I think it's important that you guys
summer trip.
Yes. And I think it is important that you guys engage in these types of conversations with with friends and family. You can do it in ways that aren't threatening. That bring the conversation up, rather than saying, "Oh, you're all a bunch of white privileged rednecks." That's probably not going to garner much favor to the people you're talking to. That's how you open up. Any more than if somebody came to you and said, "Why you earthy smelling liberal latte drinking," like anytime you have to add adjectives to make somebody feel really bad about themselves, it's not a good way to start anything. So here's what I say. How about you say, "Hey, nice to know you. Oh, that's your perspective? That's great. This is where I come from." And then you can begin to have these conversations back and forth that are like less threatening. Like you can go up to somebody and say, "Why is it that you think that? I'm just curious. I'm wondering what your thoughts are," and just listen, because it's not going to hurt you to just listen. You don't have to prove them wrong. Just listen to people. And then eventually you build trust and you go from there, right?
Build a relationship and you go from there. For sure.
So, for sure. So, with that said, basically, friends, thank you for listening to us. We want you to check out the episode notes because otherwise it makes it pointless that I put episode notes together to begin with, wouldn't you say, Sal? And of course, in those episode notes, we want you to check out our Patreon. Your help, your support will be greatly appreciated. And it does help us. So the more that we have, if you are a Patreon member and you love your Patreon subscription, invite friends that you think will like it as well, that have similar interests and would want to listen to us, two fun folks talk about this stuff.
We're not going to quit our jobs. We're not going to quit our jobs with this and make a fortune doing this. This is a mastery for you guys, and your support helps us pay our hosting fees and our website fees. So
that is correct. That is correct. This does nothing for us financially. All it does is cause us to take more time out of our lives to do something, and cause scheduling issues with our families in order for us to do it.
Yes.
Wouldn't you say that's about what, but it also
sums it up.
The reward is that we get to be a part of a larger conversation of what it means to be human and what it means to be created in the image of God. And we're in this journey together. So, that's what we want out of it. And any, if you appreciate that, you've been enjoying the conversation, you've been engaging it, and you think that this is a worthwhile $5 investment a month, we would love to have you at Patreon in the episode notes. Yep. But most importantly, friends, as hopefully the entire last several episodes have pointed you to, it's vital that you're most excellent to each other.
And don't be a jerk.
Thank you. That's important. Be excellent and don't be a jerk. Rock on.
Be a jerk. Rock on.
Rock on, sir. Okay, so with that said, this is us signing out. Peace, y'all.
Peace out.